Welcome to the Mo podcast.
A place where individual stories come to life.
This is how we need to be communicating with people. This is how we support people's personal development.
It's important to speak about people believing in people.
The more you're able to let go of your limitation, the more you step into your power, your inner authentic power.
Mo, a place for me, others, everyone.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Mo Podventures. Today I'm joined by Kate Ainsworth, and I'm not going to get too far into an introduction for Kate or ask them to introduce themselves in the usual way, because today's episode is slightly different. Kate's joining us in a role as podcast host at Mo on the Mo Podventures. Kate is a Mo graduate, and today's episode is going to be introducing Kate as Kate and I ask each other some questions that will allow you, our viewers, to get an understanding of who we are as people. We also recognised with Kate joining that I had never had a particularly in-depth introduction. So this will also serve as a belated introduction for me, Alex Smith. Kate.
Woo! Hello. Yes, so as you might have guessed, there's now 2 co-hosts, which means that there will be 2 episodes a month, one every 2 weeks, hosted by either myself or Alex. So nothing's much changed other than a new face or a new voice.
And today we thought, how would we like to introduce ourselves? And we are playing around with a bunch of questions from the flimsy to the formal that touch on coaching, that touch on breakfast, all sorts. And hoping that this gives you a varied and colourful insight to our lives. And we're going to start off with, what is your ideal breakfast, Kate?
I have had long to ponder over this, and I have decided it is, you may disagree, smashed avocado, poached eggs on toast. It's got to be sourdough bread. Poached eggs got to be runny. Avocado is great smashed with a bit of chili on top and obviously salt and pepper. Mwah, chef's kiss.
That's brilliant. And it kind of came out a bit like an M&S advert. Like, this is not just white toasted bread. This is sourdough with a bit of chili. Okay, nice. My ideal breakfast, I'm a bit embarrassed to say, but it's like a cooked English breakfast. And the thing I'm embarrassed about is the number of hash browns I'll eat. I'm talking 4 hash browns, 2 eggs, mushrooms, and often like miso garlic mushrooms.
Okay. Oh, we're coming across as real foodies now.
Yeah, which really isn't true for me. But yeah, when it comes to mushrooms in a cooked breakfast, I do miso garlic mushrooms, and then yeah, what else have we got? We got eggs. We got toast. Ideally sourdough, fantastic, and then sometimes a grilled tomato. And if my friend Claire's involved, there's always fried kale as well.
Okay.
And that's my ideal breakfast.
Very nice. Where do you buy your hash browns from?
We actually did a taste test on the hash browns last time we had this breakfast. But at the moment, it's just where I do my weekly shop, which is Sainsbury's.
He's a Sainsbury's guy. Okay.
You're learning about me. You're learning which supermarket I shop at. Yeah.
Aldi through and through. So, my question to you is, what's one of the things that fulfills you most in life?
Definitely a big physical adventure in nature. Just last week, came off a canoeing trip down the River Spey, which is in the Scottish Highlands, and we were just canoeing every day, wild camping at night, and there were 13 of us, and it was just using my body every day to navigate through some incredible scenery. Or like it might be a big hiking trip or bike touring, often deep in nature, using my body regularly. Like, some of the most fulfilling times of my life have been that.
I love that. If you were wild camping all the time, did you have to take your canoe with you?
Yeah, but we'd camp like just at the side of a river. We'd camp within like 50 meters of a river.
And then keep the canoe on the car and travel.
No, just jump back, get back in the river in the morning and carry on
Oh, and
canoeing downstream.
oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, it was wicked.
Oh, okay. Well, I take that question completely differently from what is
Hmm.
fulfilling me in life because I immediately think about work, which I'm not sure is a good thing. But if, as far as outdoor pursuits are concerned, I would take yours. But what fulfills me most in life is generally talking to people, helping people out, getting them out of their own heads, helping them solve problems and help them fight their limiting beliefs that they might have and get them to where they want to be. But yeah, I love helping people. That is what fulfills me most in life is helping people get themselves out of a rut
Mm.
and seeing that journey.
Hmm. Nice.
Yeah, or just sharing stories and being able to help somebody or make them see something that they didn't see before.
Yeah, nice. Next question. What are some of your favorite names?
Ezekiel,
Mm.
Jude, Judd, Jet,
Okay.
Axel, and Ace.
Mm. I mean, my nephew's called Axel, which is funny as well because I'm
Oh,
called Alex. I always joke to
yeah, yeah.
my brother that he tried to name his kid after me, but
Mm.
typoed on me. And my brother is called Asa, so not far from Ace as well.
Ooh.
Nice names. For me, uh, I've always loved biblical and ancient
Mm.
Greek names. So yeah, Ezekiel's a wicked name, and but ancient Greek and Latin names like Agamemnon, who was a king, king in the story of Troy, or like Hephaestus or Mephistopheles. Like, whoa, what a name! And even like, yeah, Penelope, another great name, Helena, Sophia. I
Mm.
just, I can read down Greek names and just be like, whoa. Alexandros. Um, yeah, I think those names and like mythology names, like the Roman and Greek gods as well, like Apollo, Hermes.
Oh,
They're just brilliant.
hi, nice to meet you. My name's Apollo.
It's quite grand, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's so cool. Apart from, I would never want to give a child a name that's hard to pronounce because in the register, people like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, nothing wrong with the name Kate.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Kate's a fantastic name. So is Alex. Yeah, both great names.
Um, yes, I have a question for you. So, if you could do any additional coach training course, what would it be and why?
There's two things that come to mind. One is a somatic coaching course, dialing into kind of where tension is in our body or where we can use the knowledge already locked into our body to support us with the coaching, like where there's information in our body already, or where we can pull information out of our body to support us in our coaching journey. That feels really interesting, particularly because I'm someone who tends more towards the rational thinking to resolve things rather than the intuitive listening, and especially like listening to their body. That's something that doesn't come particularly naturally to me. Or it would be something around couples coaching, a course that would allow me to get into relational coaching or give me some skills and training in developing that skill set. I'd love to work with couples doing relational coaching, and there's a course called RLT, Relational Life Therapy, that kind of straddles therapy and coaching and is working with couples that I've got a friend who's on and that is super interesting. So I think it'd be one of those two if I was going to push on and do more coach training or do another formal qualification. What
Hmm.
about you?
Might join you on that relationship one. My coaching that I do is helping people stay out of bad relationships and avoid those types of things and educate themselves, as well as a coaching aspect of that. Um, but yeah, actual relationship coaching sounds really interesting, and somatic sounds interesting.
Mm,
Mine would be more like a trauma-informed coaching I want to do.
mm,
Just, I think so many people nowadays do carry trauma, unfortunately, and just enabling me to be aware of that and understand why people might behave in a certain way, or if I need to be sensitive, more sensitive in any capacity, how I should show up more or communicate differently based on how people's trauma might present itself. Yeah, and just to help people stop spreading trauma or hurting people or being misaligned with themselves and helping people to
mm.
be their truest self.
Nice. Yeah, super relevant. Next question. What are you learning at the moment?
Ooh, well, I'm not necessarily doing any courses, but this year I have heard is the year of like shedding old skin and getting things done. And this year I'm really learning in how to be, this sounds so corny, how to be my best friend and how to heal my inner child. I've bought myself a reward chart
Mm,
and I'm giving myself stickers for every
lovely.
time I'm doing something good to validate myself. And by the end of that, when I get a certain amount of stickers, I get a little treat.
Nice.
So I'm really learning this year to validate myself and not get that validation from anyone else. I listened to the episode you did with Jessica Hollyland,
Mm.
and what she said at the end about asking for permission and giving permission. And this year, I'm learning to give myself permission to do that thing, to give myself that break, to go after that thing, to rest and to go after things. And yeah, that's what I'm learning. What are you learning?
And yeah, just before I answer that, big shout out to Jess Holland, fantastic guest, and
Mm,
Pia in the industry, fantastic, fantastic human. And yeah, I want to say that kind of, I'm really interested in if we had another half an hour, whatever, for this episode, I'd jump right into this tangent of where that balance lies between being a social herd creature and living in society and drawing some of that validation from other people and grounding the majority of that validation or creating a really strong sense of self because so much of your validation comes from yourself. I see it as this really nuanced balance that we're all kind of on. And it doesn't, in my head, and this might be different to you, and that's fine. I don't want to go completely into like all my validation comes from myself. And
mm,
equally, I think it's really unhealthy for all your validation to come from other people. And like, where do
mm,
we not draw that line, but where do we try and balance that scale is just such a nuanced conversation that I'd love to get into with you sometime. But we'll put a pin on it. And for now, I'll tell you that I am learning the piano. I had a cancer scare a few years ago and realized if I had a short time to live, one of the things I'd love to do would be to play piano. And I bought myself an electric keyboard and I've been playing regularly since. And at the moment, I play like every day and just absolutely love it. And I'm completing an online jazz piano course, which I'm finding really difficult and yeah, rewarding as well. And I'm trusting the process. I'm trusting that if I complete this course, I'll be one of the greatest jazz pianists. I mean, I'll be a slightly improved jazz pianist. And yeah, getting through it. Next question.
Yeah, as we go into summer now, are you recognizing something different? So, do you navigate summer differently to how you navigate winter?
I think whether intentionally or not, I definitely do. I'm a lot more outdoors and spending weekends away from home in the summer. Um, so that definitely happens. And then, my housemate at the moment, she's amazing, and she talks about getting really into like nest energy in the winter and really slowing down. And I've been trying to bring more of that into my life in the last year or so. And I'm not sure how successful I've been. I really love, like, tend to have lots of energy and love to use it, socializing and kind of butterflying around. So yeah, I guess just at the moment, like unintentionally, I'm kind of guided by the weather and drawn outdoors more.
Mm.
What about you?
1000%. In previous years when we had COVID and we weren't going outside during the winter, I definitely had seasonal depression.
Mm.
1000%. So yeah, during summer, I definitely come out of my shell. It's like I'm alive again. And I think definitely during winter, I have to make more of a conscious effort to go to the gym in the evenings. And when it gets dark and you're tired and you finish work, I really have to make sure that I've got that habit of going in.
Hmm.
And yeah, the same as you. Next time you're going hiking and wild camping and kayaking, please invite me because, oh, love that type of thing. But yes, now summer is here. I want to get the tent out. I want to go camping. I did a lot last year. Yeah, just get me back outside. Honestly, I wake up more often. I'm more inclined to wake up at 5:30 in the morning when it's sunny, get that sun on my face, get outside, go for a walk. It's just, yeah, just exactly the same as you, Alex. I just want to be outside when the sun is there. There's no excuse then.
Next question. What's your favorite part of a Sunday roast?
Yorkshire puddings.
Gotta be.
It's got to be Yorkshire puddings.
No question.
Oh, brilliant. Great.
No question. Next question. Done.
What's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
I think it would be to move around less. I spent my 20s moving around a lot. I did 4 years of working in ski resorts in the winter and then being knocking around in the summer. And I'd every year in the summer I'd come back and it would be somewhere different. And it meant it was very difficult for me to put down roots in a place, or the roots I put down in places were very shallow. And as a result, it was only really until my 30s that I
Mm.
felt like I was really finding my herd in a place. I'd move somewhere and then I'd kind of like, yeah, meet people, meet people, meet people. And it's only really in my 30s that I felt like I was really finding real kindred spirits or people who I aligned really closely with in terms of values and activities. And I think that was from living in one place for a slightly longer period of time and getting to not just meet the people who are most out there or kind of accessible to where I'd landed, but also meet with people, then carry on meeting people until I'd found the people that were really right for me. And that's had such a big impact on who I am and how much I've been enjoying life in the last 5 years. Um, I think, I love the time I spent moving around a lot and traveling a lot, and I think or living in different places. It wasn't traveling. And I think it's, it's one of the reasons why it wasn't really until I was in my 30s that I felt like I was really meeting people who were most like me and that I
Mm.
most valued in life.
That's really powerful.
Hmm.
We always talk about finding our tribe, but I think that is what your 20s is for. Like, I didn't come out of
Yeah.
uni with a bunch of people that I liked, and I think even if you did just put shallow roots down, that's what your 20s are for. Like, we'd not found that until your
Yeah.
30s, and I mean, so long as you've
Yeah.
eventually found those people, like I currently feel like I have not found those people, and that is what I am spending my 20s doing.
Mm. Yeah, I totally acknowledge that it's entirely possible that even if I stayed in one place, might have still felt like, well, I'm not really amazingly understood by people, or and that I needed to maybe understand myself better before I could find my herd. That's a really
Mm.
interesting idea. Yeah. What about you?
One piece of advice to my younger self: forgive myself more for not knowing better and forgiving myself for not knowing better. Whether I've let people walk over me or take advantage of me, or I've done the wrong thing, or I've not been a good person, or I've gone about something the wrong way. whatever it is, just accepting that we're all growing as people for our entire lives. We're never static or stagnant. We're always learning, we're always growing, and to just forgive myself for not being perfect all the time because we never are. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Ooh, quick one for you, which I know you just mentioned you were working at some chalets and ski resorts. So surfing or skiing?
Yeah, I have done a bit of surfing as well, but it would definitely be skiing. Yeah, like living in ski resorts was 100% to be able to access the mountains and go skiing 4 or 5 times a week, and it would definitely be skiing. I have such a sense of home in snowy mountains and such a sense of comfort on skis on those mountains, and such a sense of joy in using my body to ski. So definitely skiing. What about you?
I want to ask, where's your favorite place to ski?
Oh, there's no question. So the last season I worked was in Japan, on Hokkaido, which is the North Island, and having worked in Europe, and having spoken to people who have skied all over the world, uh, can feel confident saying that it's the best skiing in the world. And where Europe maybe has like a bit of like a hot tub and boozy après ski culture, Japan has a like fine dining and natural spring onsen culture. And it's just a lot more relaxed, a lot more. Yeah, I'm, when I'm trying to describe it, I'm thinking of like that stereotypical Japanese elegance and maturity and style, and where like, yeah, but it just seems like a real difference in like European ski resorts are very much like partying and to an extent like consumerism, like high fashion, like in a ski resort you might have a Chanel shop or like Gucci, and in Japan it's very much like,
Green tea? I don't know.
yeah, just like there's something, it's just very different, and I'm not sure how to put it in any better contrast than that. But it was definitely the best skiing I'd ever experienced, aside from the resort experience.
So I've done neither.
Hmm.
See, I want to say surfing because I associate it with hot weather, sand, sea. I'm quite good at balancing.
Hmm.
I'm a good swimmer, so I like that idea. But I really do also want to try skiing. But I think I'm gonna go with surfing just because it's associated with nicer weather.
Hmm.
But I'm also convinced now that I need to go skiing in Japan.
Yeah, I mean it's quite a long way away. Japan, I'd maybe say start with your local dry ski slope. But you could definitely go surfing around the UK this summer. Some great spots. Uh, Next and final question. What part of coaching do you most enjoy?
Watching someone's tangled ball of mess of thoughts towards the end, seeing that, watching that clarity that people get, watching them being really, watching people's eyes dart and going, oh, I could think about this, think about that, think about that. And then you literally watch people unravel and find their clarity within their own thoughts and just being part of that journey and facilitating that conversation.
Hmm.
What's your favorite part?
Oh, I just want to speak to that. Yeah, that sense of calm that sometimes comes from like, yeah, that darting, like that ju everything's jumbled and everything's untangled but out, and it can be quite overwhelming. And then there is often that sense of delicious calm that comes in a conversation where it's like, ah, yeah, and I've just found this evident truth that's so obvious to me now that we've laid everything out and I can see it. Yeah, that's really special. My favorite part is mindset shift coaching. So getting into limiting beliefs, getting into here's the mindset that is behind this behavior, or that's behind this thing being a challenge for me, and here's where the mindset isn't serving me or isn't quite as true as it could be or quite as true as I believe it to be. And then dialing into here's a more beautiful mindset that I want to set or that I want to invest in. I think of it as paradigm shift. Like my mind currently is invested in this paradigm or believes this paradigm, and we are going to replace it with this other paradigm. And the thing about this work that is most beautiful to me is that the new paradigm, it has to be so robust or it has to be rooted in truth. It can't just be a shiny, beautiful thing. It needs to have real solidity and it needs to be clearly, it needs to have this kind of like inherent or anchored power to it. And you often have to search, like, okay, what is the truth here? Like, what is the deepest wisdom that part of you does believe? Or that what can you dial into and invest in here that will not just replace this with something beautiful, but replace this with something beautiful and true that's going to have the strength to continue guiding you even when you're at your weakest. And like, you can't stop, you can't create the paradigm shift until you've found a new paradigm that has that solidity because it just won't serve. It won't stand up. It won't stand any test of time. So there's a real sense of like, okay, we're in it and we're even just unpicking or bringing awareness to an old paradigm that isn't that true or doesn't hold enough truth is really powerful. And to finish the work, there's a kind of like, we have to keep going until we find it. And it's not to say that it hasn't been value created going up to that point, but there's a certain finality that is really obvious to everyone in the conversation when you do find that truth that is going to be the new paradigm, and when it is like, yeah, that's it. That's obviously so much more powerful, and that's way more positive. And I believe that I know that to be true inside me.
Oh, that was so amazing. Mic drop. I don't think I've ever nodded my head so much during someone talking before.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna take that away, and
Mm,
carry that with me through the rest of my days now.
mm.
Let me write that down.
I've got maybe one more question as well.
Sure.
Um, I think it would be great for the audience to hear what the current coaching you do is, or what your specialism in coaching is, or what your coaching looks like.
So I am known as the healthier relationship coach or the healthy rel coach if you want to find me. I have experience of domestic abuse and domestic violence from a same-sex relationship, and I've basically taken that experience along with my life coaching course from Mo and have turned that over the past 5 years into online webinars, workshops, one-to-ones, workbooks, into telltale signs of abuse, red flags, and mainly did this online, but I also have recently done some in-person workshops for people on what they deserve and keeping people out of toxic and abusive relationships. So that's largely what I do, is just like an online educator role
Mhm.
and doing webinars and in-person workshops. And then a couple one-to-ones where I use my life coaching, a very general Mo framework, asking people to treat dating a bit like a job interview and saying, well, does this person pass the next round? And here you are with your list of requirements. You want them to be this, 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 and this. Do they pass? Do they meet these things? Do they pass the next round? Are they the weakest link? Are you going to tell them goodbye?
You're really game showing it.
Yeah, I feel like you have to
Uh-huh.
sometimes gamify things in your life
Yeah.
because otherwise you don't treat them seriously enough. And dating has such a big impact on your life. You could be the most successful person ever, but if the person that you go back home to is, I don't know, either mentally or physically hurting you in some way, which, you know, for it is predominantly women and some men that happens to, that has such a big impact on your life. People die from it, that it is something that should be taken with an equal amount of seriousness.
Mm. Yeah, thank you.
That was so deep.
Yeah, get into it. Um, my coaching, I think of myself as a generalist, but most of my coaches come through word of mouth, and I tend towards working most with startup founders and CEOs and a totally different group, DJs, artists, and music producers. I work 2.5 days a week at a music technology university. We do degrees in sound engineering, music production, sound design for TV, game industry, etc. And there I mostly do employability coaching. I run workshops and get a bit into curriculum integration. So that's who I am as a coach.
That was nice and short and sweet. I think that concludes today's episode. It's been so lovely talking to you, Alex, and answering the questions of today. I hope everyone who is listening has enjoyed. We would love to hear from you. And we do have two final questions.
Again, bringing both the flimsy and the formal. Firstly, what did you have for breakfast this morning? And secondly, what about coaching do you find most challenging? And when we publish this episode on streaming platforms and as well as posting about this episode on LinkedIn, we'd love for you to comment on our LinkedIn post, either of your answers to these two questions. And feel free to also, if you feel like we didn't actually sate your curiosity for something in our lives, feel free to also ask any questions of Kate or I on that LinkedIn post as well, and we'll endeavor to answer you. We'd love to hear what comes up from you for either of those questions, both from a culinary perspective and also a coaching perspective, and seeing where the Rich Mo conversation leads. That's it from myself, Alex.
That's it from me, Kate.
Goodbye, and we'll see you next month.